Welcome to this special program. Only a few weeks before the D-Day, 13th of August 2026, the country goes to the polls. One man is being touted as the next president of this country. I caught up with him on the campaign trail. We're talking about Brian Mundubile. He is the man of the moment. In this interview, we look at some of the issues pertaining to governance and his road to what is being perceived the next president of this country. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening to you, Frank. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Good to see you. I don't know how you're managing this very hectic, schedule. Is this something, strenuous that you've ever done before?
Yes, indeed. I mean, of course, presidential candidate for my very first time. And this particular campaign, Frank, is unusual, as expected. The government, through the instructions given to them by the powers that be, did not allow the opposition political party members to fly helicopters or indeed private planes. Permits were denied. Yeah. So we've had to do our campaigns by road through and through. So it's been very, very tedious. I must say, on the other hand, we've also benefited from that inconvenience. Firstly, we've experienced what other Zambians are experiencing. When you go through Lundazi into Chama, you go through Chama into Muyombe, Mafinga area. We've been to Chiengi, we've been to Monunga on those roads. So we've been able to interact with the people along the way. We've been able to appreciate the challenges that people are going through. Maybe something that would have missed if we were overflying these areas. Through our roadshow interactions, we've come to a full appreciation of what challenges the people are going through. I think that's the positive that we get out of it. But otherwise, it's not supposed to be like that. You can't have only one man flying, or maybe President Hakainde Hichilema and Vice President Nalumango to be the only people that are allowed to fly. And yet we're in this race together. So this is the reason, Frank, why we are saying we do not only want to change government, we also want to change how government works.
You mentioned, the state of the country where you have been, going through. Give us the picture of what you have seen, the state of the country. I say this, because your opponent, the government of today, is saying it has made tremendous economic and social development and that it has developed, this country.
Frank, I'll start with the mood in the country. People from Eastern Province, Muchinga, Northern, Luapula, Central, wherever we have been, have only complained of one thing, and this is to do with their freedoms. Zambians feel oppressed. Zambians feel persecuted. Zambians feel their rights to express themselves, their rights to assemble, their rights to move freely, their rights to worship have been violated the past 5 years. I want you to take a very closer look at our rallies, if you follow them on Facebook. If there's a message Zambians are responding to very loudly, is when we say we will restore their freedoms. When we talk about the cyber laws, everybody explodes into shouts. So the mood in the country is that Zambians feel oppressed. Zambians do not feel free to express themselves, to move freely. Even the clergy, pastors, bishops feel oppressed because we've had one pastor too many summoned to the police station merely for preaching the word of God. Just because maybe in the mode of delivery, it touched on some failures of government. Pastors and bishops have been called to the police to go and explain themselves. So this is one thing Zambians are fighting. Secondly, Frank, we know that many rural parts of the country have a lot of farmers. Farmers generally feel they've been neglected. The low supply of inputs, where they've had to share in small buckets, they call medas. Farmers feel shortchanged, where Food Reserve Agency gets maize from them and does not pay for that maize for 7 months on ends. Farmers feel the delayed opening of the markets and announcing of the floor price is exposing them to briefcase businessmen who are exploiting them. So the farmers generally feel exploited. We've been speaking to the civil servants, Frank. The civil servants are under immense pressure from debt that they've contracted. They've contracted debt because government owes them money. Government has not paid them certain allowances. That has subjected them to go to Shylocks, who now are wiping out their pay slips. We have since assured them that we implement the debt swap policy so that they can get some relief on their pays. You have a number of civil servants that are complaining about their welfare and their general morale. You know, the civil service, Frank, you've been around long enough. A career civil servant would serve 20 to 30 years. They've been there as junior officers, trained. 15 years later, with their degrees, master's degrees, they maybe go up to director level. They begin to look forward to rising to permanent secretary or deputy permanent secretary. Under the current regime, you have people who've never worked for government before, no experience whatsoever, no practical past performance, no decent academic papers, rise into positions of permanent secretary to control these professionals. So the morale in the civil service is very low. The recruitment process in the civil service is not on merit. And as a result of that, it's also adding to the low morale in the civil service. Many people also complaining about representation. People in the countryside feel even if we vote for members of parliament, they're unable to speak for us because the parliament we have today does not allow members of parliament to represent the people that voted for them. We see how members of parliament are demeaned on the floor of the house. This is one of the villages, where was this? I can't remember which area that we were. Yeah, so basically the sum total of all this, Frank, Zambians feel very disappointed. They feel this government has failed on all fours. And they're in a hurry to remove this government and usher in a government that will respond to the aspirations of the Zambian people. They are looking for a government that will restore unity in the country. A government that will respect the rule of law.
Right.
A government that will ensure institutions of government are functioning as they should, including parliament, as I've talked about. Zambians are looking for a government that will ensure there's an independent judiciary so that the dispensation of justice is on fairness and not what is being seen now. So with Vice President Makebi Zulu, we always have our evening meetings after. You actually feel depressed, Frank, when you sit back to realize we are dealing with a failed state. This is a country which has collapsed completely. All systems of governance have collapsed. Not one is surviving as I speak to you now. Yeah, so there's a lot of work to be done.
I'll be, going to the major, economic, issue, which some people, look at as basic, and this is the cost of living. But before we do, that, Mr. President, our DNA is what determines who we are, whether we're going to make good leaders or not. What is your DNA as Brian Mundubile? Where are you, coming from? What is your background? What is your Christianity? Because I think a leader also needs a semblance of a Christianity before he can lead his people, properly. What is your family, your background? We want to hear that before we talk about other economic and social issues.
Yes, Frank. Brian Mundubile comes from Mborokoso. He was born of John Chilambwe Mundubile, who was a freedom fighter. John Chilambwe Mundubile was recognized many a time. I think the last time he received his medals was 1991, the same year KK lost power. He fought alongside people like Grey Zulu, Elijah Mudenda, Chapolocos, and so from the northern province. John Chilambwe Mundubile will not be a stranger to many.
Yeah.
They remember him as a freedom fighter. Married Nora Chiluya Mundubile, my mother. My father had 3 wives, and in total we were 26 children. Not so sure how many we are now, around about 22. We're still quite many. We lost about 4 along the way. Yeah, so that's my family. Basically, I started my school in Solwezi. My father worked there. We lived in Zambezi before, Kabompo, before my father retired. And when he retired, I stayed in Mborokoso with him for 2 years before going to live with my sister in Lusaka. Yeah, and of course, most of my school, college, universities were done in Lusaka, from the early 80s up to now. Yeah, so I am a Christian.
Yeah.
I am a Christian, Frank. I was baptized in 1991 at North Mid Assemblies of God.
Excellent.
By Pastor Ernest Chelelwa.
Right.
Back in the day. Yeah, so I've been a member of North Mid Assemblies since that time. Of course, because of the nature of my work as a politician, we change churches every so often. But I've been a member of the Pentecostal Assemblies of God for some time.
And you are Bashing Pondo.
Yes, I've got good twins.
What can you say about your family?
Oh yes, I have 5 children. My firstborn graduated some 2 years ago in business administration. The second born is graduated as an engineer, civil engineer, just last week. And I've got 3 girls, 2 of which are twins, Tulumbe and Malumbo. Yes, so yeah, I am a family man. And like I said, I come from a very big family, as it were.
Excellent. 4 months ago, you were written off as somebody who was part of the PF. The PF that lost the elections. And one of the reasons, is that the PF mismanaged the affairs of the country. And some people are saying, your opponent is saying, you were part of this, failed, government. One part of the equation, if you were part of that failed, government, what makes you think you can do a better job now? That's part of the equations. 4 months ago, again, you were known, but you were not known as formidable as you are today. Today, you're drawing large crowds. You're like a rock star. What has changed? How do you explain this? From 4 months, almost not going anywhere. Today, you're being regarded, and seriously, as a serious contender, perhaps the next president. Could you unravel all this that I've said?
Lesson package failure, as defined by President Hakainde Hichilema. Yeah, the PF, as a government that it says failed, improved the energy sector. They improved generation from 1,600 megawatts from independence And in the 10 years of the PF, they took it up to 3,400. They more than doubled the power generation in the country. The same failed PF built 3 international airports across 3 provinces. It's the same failed PF that built 1,000 schools countrywide. These are full schools, not 1 by 3 classroom blocks. 1,000 schools countrywide. They did 100 district hospitals and 47 mini hospitals. On the road front, over 3,000 kilometers of road was started, under the patriotic front, as it were. Was in government, the patriotic front was giving up to 6 bags of fertilizers to every farmer. Yeah, so as we look at that failure, we should also remember that 2,500 communication towers were erected during the patriotic front. So if this is failure, Frank, I'm proud to be part of this failure. If what I've said and other things I may not have mentioned is what President Hakainde Hichilema termed as failure, I'm very proud to be part of this failure. So if we were to look at President Hakainde Hichilema and his government, Frank, there is no single project they have done the past 5 years. The famous Lusaka and Ndola Dual Carriageway is a PPP. Is not off the budget. So there's no single project that President Hakainde Hichilema will talk of today. So there's simply no comparison between the Patriotic Front and his government today. I can list 1,000 projects off the cuff done by the Patriotic Front. There is none. We asked the Vice President a question in Parliament to just mention 2 projects that they are done, and she struggled. She could not. Yeah, so we have a government in place, Frank, that lied its way to State House. And now they're failing to sustain the lies. Yeah, because the people have woken up. People are taking them to account. I believe, Frank, that the way Brian Mundubile and Makebi Zulu are campaigning now, we are promising people. We are promising them free education and what other additions. For instance, we are saying we want free and quality education. We do not want 150 pupils in a class. We're going to reduce the teacher-pupil ratio, 1 to 1 to 45 and 1 to 50 maximum. We will also provide free books to the pupils. We will go further, progressively supply uniforms to the pupils. Okay? That is our promise to the people. After 5 years, we will not be explaining and making further promises. We will be pointing at what we have done. We'll give a progress report based on the promises that we made. President Hakainde Hichilema today is not giving any progress report. There is no Sontepo Avomba as he's campaigning. That points to failure. If there was any progress he had made in line with the promises, that would have been his song. But they're shifting between statements and campaign messages. Why?
He's pointing to economic growth of 4%. He's pointing to positive economic indicators, the strength of the kwacha, lower inflation, CDF, the mines that have been resurrected, agriculture, which he pointed out. Over and above that, now he is saying he has laid the foundation. It's going to be even better. He's talking about universities across the country, a university in every province. He's talking about an airport in every province. He's accusing you that all these successes he has recorded, you will mess up. You even steal, those are his words, the 6.5 billion, reserves. This is his, defense. If I may be crude, Mr. President, he is saying, Nimoba Pompwe, you are thieves, you have nothing, to give you're just coming back to steal. Can you spend a few minutes on this before we talk about the high cost of living and what you are offering, driven by what you're calling industrial economic development?
Yes. Yeah, first of all, I'll start with the lighter one. We are not thieves. We are very decent men. And, the angels you find in UPND today, these are the angels who transfer $80 million by accident to China. These are angels that we have in government today. And there's no report of anyone having been disciplined by this era. And remember that the transfer of this money only came to our knowledge because the Chinese reacted and said, why are you sending this money to us? But we know to say there's a lot more money they've been sending that way to people that have remained quiet. This government of angels, Frank, did you know that the past 5 years, they have transferred $10 billion out of this economy in what are called illicit financial flows? $10 billion has gone. There is no, if you look at successive governments from independence, there is no government that has been as corrupt as the UPND. If you look at the corruption cases put together from independence, they will come nowhere near to what has happened under the UPND. So when they're calling others thieves, Frank, it's like the English say, you look at the pot calling the kettle black. Yeah, really. So it's up to the Zambians to really judge and see the so-called angels under the UPND. Zambians have to ask the difficult questions. The president has remained quiet over this $10 billion reported in the FIC reports. The president has remained quiet over the $80 million that was sent, quote unquote, accidentally. What has the president said about the scandals in the Ministry of Health, the 61 containers, the procurement processes thereof? What has he said about the thefts and the corrupt activities under the Ministry of Agriculture in the procurement of fertilizers? Has he said anything over the fuel tankers that were initially procured for youths? There were 100 fuel tankers that were procured for youths. Frank, are you aware that the past 5 years, the UPND has been getting money from these 100 tankers and using it for their campaigns in the by-elections? And just yesterday, the president was talking about handing over 100 tankers to the youths. Zambians must ask, who has been benefiting from these tankers for the past 5 years? These tankers existed as at the time they were coming into power. We called out the Minister of Sport on a number of occasions to explain to the Zambian people where they were taking money from fuel tankers, because the beneficiaries don't even know where these tankers are. Yeah, so I just wanted to expose these angels in the UPND. So President Hakainde Hichilema doesn't see any wrongdoing in $10 billion, $80 million, the fuel tankers, where we were estimating they should not be less than 600 million kwacha that has been misappropriated over the past so many years.
If you point out, Mr. President, all these criminal activities, why are you saying, this is the way you've been reported, why are you saying, assuming you become president, your successor won't be persecuted? Are you the man as president to make a decision on criminal activities on behalf of the government, when your role should be let justice take its course, and if it comes to maybe pardoning him, then I can step in? Why did you make that statement?
Frank, maybe there must be a correction. There's a difference between persecuting someone and following them for their wrongdoing. Okay? There's a system in place. Remember, we are pledging to have a government with institutions that will function. The office of the DPP will function independently. So if leaders are cited to have been involved in some criminal activities, they will be pursued independently. So that is not persecution, remember. Persecution is what we had seen, where you have committed no offense, and the president or the powers that be instruct police officers to persecute you, basically find anything on Frank. We know there's nothing, but find something. That's persecution. But if if you stole and the law comes after you, that's not persecution. Yeah, that's not persecution. So don't mistake the two.
Right.
What we simply said is that, and I'll still repeat that, President Hakainde Hichilema remains very safe. We will not persecute him. But if at all there's any wrongdoing on his part, and the law enforcement agencies follow through credible investigations and run him through the criminal justice system, that is not persecution. Yes. So the two must be different. Persecution is where there is no offense at all. You are forcing the law enforcement agencies to find something or to simply put somebody behind bars so that they suffer, and in the end they are released. That will not do.
Are you telling, the country that even though you have been persecuted, as I speak, you don't have a passport? Your phones have been confiscated. That won't influence your decision as president?
Not at all. What we want to reset the country, Frank. We want the national renewal. We want a country to get back on its rails. We want Zambia as a country to work again. So it has to stop somewhere. It will end with us. This is an undertaking that I make. I will not persecute any of these leaders that are in government today. Yes, I've been inconvenienced. I've not been able to travel the past 4 months. I haven't had my phones the past 4 months. Yeah, but we want to put all that under the bridge and be able to run a country that will foster unity and love.
Do you have fears, that if you lost the elections, your situation personally will be worse, situation pertaining to Maccabi and other colleagues will be worse? Do you have any fears?
No, not at all, Frank. Look, if you look at where we've been and where we've come from, our fight is not for me and my 22 siblings, for me and my 5 children. It's for the Zambian people. We've put our heads on the chopping board for the Zambian people. So we are ready with whatever comes. We will not sit back and cow down to say in case we lost, he's going to do that. We're ready for all that. But what we're fighting for now is for the freedom of the Zambian people. We want to liberate the Zambian people, socially and economically. Yeah, Frank, when you look at, you were just giving examples of the figures, inflation, growth. Yeah, we ask very simple questions. Our focus, Frank, is not on the figures. We are not focused on the figures to impress the donors and the cooperating partners. We are focused on the Zambian people. Our approach to serving the Zambian people is very basic. We are simply saying we are focused on reducing the cost of living. We are focused on poverty reduction, and we've got a roadmap to that. We are going to reduce poverty through job creation. We are going to create jobs through industrialization. We are going to industrialize through investment. So these are very clear steps, and we have said we've projected to create employment in the agricultural sector. 300,000 jobs in the agricultural sector the first 2 years. We are projecting, to create close to 100,000 jobs in creative arts. We are projecting another 100,000 jobs through the digital economy, as it were. We are projecting to create over 200,000 jobs in the mining sector. So we are very clear with what we want to do. But number one, our focus, we are focused on the people. We are focused on Nakulumutinta Nemisepela Pamakasa. What does that mean? It means that our policies are not in a vacuum. We come up with our policies with a Zambian in mind. Okay, Frank? The policies that we're crafting have a Zambian in mind. Let's look at the rural parts of Zambia. We are focused on agriculture because the initial employment will be created through the farming blocks in the rural areas. These farming blocks will progressively turn into agro-industrial processing zones because of value addition, as it were. So we'll create jobs in the rural parts of the country. We are focused on gold mining. Instead of spending millions of kwacha, sending ZNS and soldiers to drive away these youths, we are simply saying Government will move in through Ministry of Mines, map the areas, do surveys, establish the quantum of the resource that is in that particular area, give out licenses to our youths, but then create an aggregator. This aggregator could be through Zambia Gold. Okay, basically this aggregator will provide some assistance to the small farmers, the small scale miners, by way of equipment, training in safe mining, training in environmental protection. So you have what is called the backward and forward integration. So the aggregator sits there as a big brother, okay? He's offered them assistance to help them mine efficiently. And this aggregator buys this product at a fair price, okay? So we are going to formalize the small scale mining in the gold sector and create another 100,000 jobs, just like that, okay? We'll create millionaires, and we've pledged we'll have millionaires coming out of Chisamba. We will have millionaires coming out of Mukushi, millionaires coming out of Kanyelele, Nimpika, and eastern provinces. Would they formalize this sector, as it were? What we are talking about, Frank, is poverty reduction through job creation, as it were. When we go to the Copper Belt, for instance, we are saying through structural instruments and subordinate legislation, we will ensure that 50% of the total business transacted in the mining sector is reserved for Zambians. That immediately changes the complexion of the Copper Belt because we'll put another $2.5 billion in that economy reserved for Zambians. These Zambians will create jobs for others, as it were, and they'll begin to invest. So by so doing, we will now begin to see the reduction in poverty.
Right.
So for us, as opposed to our friends who are focused on the figures, they want to impress some gentleman sitting in Wall Street, sitting in Washington. We want to impress the old lady in Mukushi, in Luano, because now she can afford 3 meals per day. That is the difference.
Before I talk about another important component of society, the women, and the youths, you talk about the focus of this, government on, investors. Are you telling us that this government is captured? Why do I say so? Because the more investors in this country, foreign investors, than local, investors, there's a disparity in terms of the gains from the local, investors. The foreign investors, are gaining much more than the local, investors. And as a rider, to that, we understand one big mining company in this country is actually funding, your opponents with a lot of money. What does that mean? What does that show? It means the foreign investor is got so much money, even managed to give away. I hope you understand what
Frank. In fact,
what I'm saying. How do you find a balance between the local investors and the foreign investors? And indeed, what role do you expect from the private sector?
Yes, Frank, if you remember, I had some very interesting debate one day in Parliament when we were debating the Anti-Corruption Commission. Our take was that we needed to redefine corruption. We needed to enlarge the definition of corruption. Corruption in that particular case should not be the sharing and giving of bribes. It involves all actions that are focused on private as opposed to public interest. And this will come by way of administration, it will come by way of legislation, and indeed the policy. So what you do, Frank, you interrogate the decisions governments make. You run them through a test, whether those particular decisions are in private or public interest. That's a test that you have to run. Now, when you go back to the mining houses, you find that most of these mining houses pay their way through to politicians before they get into power. Okay, the time these governments are getting into power, they come up with policies that don't favor the public. They favor private capital. Now that is corruption. I want you to understand that. If you look at the broader definition of corruption, so the corruption actually happens in that governments begin to make certain decisions by way of incentives to these private entities, okay, because they're benefiting. So when you talk about a big mining house, pouring in money, yes, we've picked those stories. So clearly, they're exchanging favors. If you play back, you realize that these particular mining houses enjoyed a lot of incentives from government, okay? Meaning, a government at that particular point moved away from public interest to support private capital, as it were. And this is the corruption that we want to fight in the new government front. We're going to broaden the definition of corruption and deal with cases such as this. You know that our mines received a lot of incentives previously, and the Minister of Finance could not justify those incentives. When we asked him, he talked about ramping up production, to 3 million tons. We then asked him, why didn't he graduate, these incentives, matching them with certain outcomes? They're not interested in that because they front load some benefit, which we are seeing now. This is more or less saying, we'll give you these incentives. When it's time for campaigns, you give us so much money. There's no better definition of corruption. And we like investors. We like investors. We promote investment, but we must be quick to warn our investors that they risk losing their reputation. If they proceed on this trajectory. They've been enjoying incentives for a very long time. And if they're going to go around and be funding the UPND as the case is now, we want to ask them a question. What happens? Because UPND is going to lose power in the next few weeks. So what will happen to them? So they needed to be a little bit more careful, in the way they conduct their activities in this country.
As a rider to this, Mr. President, again, before I come to the women and youths, which is extremely important, as a rider into this, you mentioned the importance of creating Zambian millionaires. Let me educate you, maybe that's not the word, but let me educate politicians who come into government. Why it is difficult for Zambians to thrive as good and proficient business people is because people who are in government also become business people. How are you going to deal with men and women in your government so that they don't directly participate in business and compete with businessmen and women outside the government? That's part of the equation. The second equation is about declaration of assets. Could you deal with this? Because I see this as one of the major problems that forces government officials, politicians to be corrupt.
You see, Frank, when you look at some of the ways to fight this corruption, especially in government, in our manifesto, we are going to come up with a digitally enabled government, okay? So that most of these procurement systems will be digitalized. Why? We are trying to eliminate the corrupt elements, as it were. So by undergoing certain reforms in public procurement, we automatically eliminate the corrupt elements. We also eliminate those government officials who dubiously find themselves competing with the business community. So our contracts will be very transparent, as opposed to what we have now. Under the President Hakainde-led administration, everything is single-sourced. Single-sourced to individuals that are friendly to them. Single sourcing has its own conditions. So we are going to conduct some very transparent public procurement systems, open to all Zambians. That is one way of eliminating corruption. And by ensuring that our government systems are digitally enabled, this will further eliminate interferences from certain government officials. So my government will be very, very strict, Frank. Number one, as opposed to President Hakainde Hichilema, when I win, I will move into State House. my dealings will be above board. I will declare my assets from the first day and every year thereafter, because we will have nothing to hide. And by setting up that example, I expect the ministers and members of parliament to follow suit. So if my ministers and members of parliament suddenly acquire wealth which they cannot explain, definitely that will cause me to act. Yeah, so we are going to fight corruption in earnest, as it were.
Why is it important to move into State House? Is that an issue? You know, UPND, in their defense, are saying State House is just there to work. The president can live anywhere. What is that an issue, Mr. President?
It is. It's an institution. It's an institution. It's created to take care of the head of state. Issues of security are immediately taken care of. And secondly, there is transparency in the manner, because there's a system that exists. If I move into my house as president, the Zambian people will not know who my Nicodemus visitors are and what they've come to do. All they will get are that, for instance, the Ndola, you find that Mopani copper mine was advertised, and there were 2 bidders in the last leg that were competing. Then suddenly there's a 3rd bidder who was never there from the beginning when the bids had closed. And why? This happens because the president is not in State House. The president is at private residence. People are not able to account for who visits the president. Sometimes you see strange incentives given to certain sectors, and when you ask, the permanent secretary does not know. Yeah, so we want to be very transparent. It's very important that a president lives in State House, because it's an institution that is there to support the president, that is there to support the president's activities, as it were.
When I look at your rallies, I see mostly women. I see mostly the young people, very expectant. 1, does that scare you? 2, what is there for women and the youths in terms of job creation? What hope are you giving them? And generally, when you see the multitude of people at rallies, what is going through your mind? Are the expectations must be very high. Are you in a position to pay back, for lack of a better way, giving hope to all these thousands who are coming to your rallies?
Yes, Frank. We are very structured, and our message is very clear. There's no promise that we are making that is out of this world. We are promising them things they can easily relate to. Let's talk about the youths. When you look at the youths on the Copper Belt, we know the challenges. Remember, the broader context to this is that we are moving women and youths from the margins to the center of policy and economic transformation, making the youths the main drivers of this transformation. So we go regional. When you go to the Copper Belt, you look at the activities the youths undertake there. It's predominantly mining. And we descend into that arena and look at the challenges they're facing. The challenges they're facing, one is challenges of displacement. Sometimes youths have gotten licenses, mining licenses, exploration licenses, and they're easily displaced by the big mining houses that could be exploring in those areas. We are going to ensure that these licenses are protected. Secondly, the youths that are mining, the Jerabos mining on these dump sites, have been driven away by the so-called investors who are avoiding greenfield and coming to dump site. We have said no. Those dump sites belong to the youths, and we're going to give them back to the youths. We will not only give them back to the youths, we will ensure that we assist these youths with equipment. We assist them with training, both in safe mining and environmental protection, so that that sector is formalized. So that is specific to the Copper Belt. The same similar activities take place here in Central Province to do with gold mining. You go to Luano, you find the same thing. You come here, you find manganese. So we're going to formalize this small-scale mining sector because it would employ youths in their thousands. You find it in Muchinga, you find it in Eastern Province, you find it in part of Central Province, as it were. Yeah, so for the youths, mining is one of them. Secondly is agriculture. Yeah, we are going to look at the agricultural activities, encourage them in cotton growing, soya beans, and maize. Remember, in all these activities, government is not going to be a bystander. Government will introduce an aggregator at every level, whether it's in mining, it's in agriculture. So this aggregator basically offers assistance, technical and financial, to these youth and women activities, as it were. So we've got women in agriculture, we've got youths in agriculture, and we've got women in other activities also, including contracts and supply to the mining sector, as it were. So for the other older women in the villages, the Nakulu mantra looks at this poor woman who was widowed 20, 30 years ago. She's bringing up her grandchildren. So she remains the anchor. She's the central message to inform our policy. So when we are looking at giving incentives in the mining sector, we're looking at how much we're going to lose through that measure. We also bring in Nakulu Mutinta, because Nakulu Mutinta needs a hospital nearby. She can't walk a long distance to take her grandchildren. Nakulu Mutinta needs a school nearby. Nakulu Mutinta needs uniforms for her children, needs books for her children. So in focusing on receipts from the mines, we maximize receipts from the mine, because Nakulu Mutinta has got to benefit what we're getting from the mines, as it were. So we'll bring hospitals closest to this Nakulu Mutinta. We'll bring schools close to Nakulu Mutinta. Nakulu Mutinta now doesn't need to run around and look for uniforms, because the children will pick up uniforms from school, as it were. Yeah, so as to whether I'm worried about these numbers, not at all. I know that there are so many low-hanging fruits, Frank. Frank, we're in a country where you can transfer $80 million by accident. This is a country that is dripping of milk and honey. Yeah, all we do is to plug some of these leakages. Imagine what that $10 billion could do to this country if it didn't leave this country dubiously under the UPND government, and many other financial flows that we have seen.
I know you've got a very hectic schedule, and because of time, I'll just ask you one or two quick questions before we wind up. If there's one major issue, that has divided this country, I know some people are afraid of talking about, is tribalism. What is your government, going to do to realize one Zambia, one nation again? And people are talking about a second liberation. Do you embrace that? Is what we are going into a second liberation?
Yes, Frank. August 13th, we're going for a second independence. I've just outlined how Zambians feel. Zambians feel oppressed. Zambians do not feel free. They don't feel liberated. So if you watch closely, even as we approach the rallies, people are saying, Tulubuleni, liberate us. That's a message consistently in Eastern Province and everywhere. Tulubuleni, meaning people have been living in bondage. And so this is the second independence that we are going through. Our message is very clear. One, we will endeavor to unite the country. I've been denouncing tribalism from the first rally. On all the 40 rallies, you see, that's a golden thread that is running. I'm denouncing tribalism. I'm encouraging people to know that their tribe is Zambia. It's one Zambia, one nation. Yes, and we'll take practical steps to ensure that we resolve this issue of tribalism. One of the areas, Frank, is in keeping with Article 259, we'll ensure that when making appointments to government positions, we do so taking into account regional diversity. This is one major issue that has caused division in our country, because it looks like only certain regions are privileged to get certain positions, as it were. So we'll resolve it, in keeping with the constitutional provisions, as it were. Yeah, and we'll continue cleaning up and ensuring that we inculcate this in our people's mind to say the UPND under President Hakainde Hichilema came and caused a lot of divisions across tribal lines. But note that we believe a particular tribe or a particular region, cannot govern. Yeah. So we want to also give confidence to our brothers and sisters that are coming from other regions to know that we remain brothers and sisters. They will be given a chance to also govern this country in various positions, even at presidency level at a later date. The fact that we've had one bad example coming from there does not throw out the entire ethnic group or the entire tribe.
In your final message, in your submission, take into consideration that all the crowds that you are attracting, you need to translate that into a vote as part of the question. 2, how does that vote get protected? Other issues in your final submission. What role do you see? I know you're a Christian. What role do you see the churches playing in your government post-elections? What role do you see the chiefs, playing, in your government? And morally, how do you bring this country back onto a moral fiber position? Because morally, this country is in a mess. Those are some of the issues I need you to bring out in your final submission to the electorate, to the Zambians, and we're not an island, to the world at large.
Yes, Frank, you know that Zambia is a Christian nation. He declared as such. And I think presidents have made efforts. I remember President Lungu made frantic efforts, first of all, to declare a National Day of Prayer that comes at around about the 18th of October. He proceeded to try and construct a National House of Prayer, which was stopped midway. So in the furtherance of the role that the church will play in our government, we will bring back the Ministry of National Guidance and Religious Affairs, as it were. We will complete that house of prayer and ensure that we inculcate Christian values in our children through schools and other gatherings. The implementation of Article 8, which is principles and values, will be predominantly through this Ministry of National Guidance and National Affairs. We'll continue to respect this country as a Christian nation. And we will take time as government, even appoint a day that government ministries will take time off just to pray. Yeah, so Christians will have a role to play in my government. And they will also are guaranteed that they should be able to preach the messages of the good Lord freely. Right now, most of these pastors are not even free to preach the word of God. Yeah, so that's a guarantee that we make. When it comes to the chiefs, the Ministry of Chiefs and Traditional Affairs is coming back. We are actually reforming how the House of Chiefs is going to function. It's now going to have an upper house and the lower house. This is to accommodate paramount chiefs and other senior chiefs in the upper house, and they'll be able to give proper guidance to the House of Chiefs in the lower house. We want our chiefs now to get more involved in the activities to do with land and water management in their various chiefdoms. We want them to get more involved in the areas to do with mining. We believe that the only way we improve these chiefdoms is by introducing a fee, okay, that we will go to a trust appointed by a particular chiefdom. For instance, if in Chief Kanyelele area there is gold mining, and that particular sector is formalized, there's an aggregator, there will be a certain percentage out of every mineral mine there that will be given to this chiefdom. And this chiefdom is expected to share these spoils with its people through certain development programs, building of hospitals, building of schools and roads, as it were. We want the chiefs now. We want chiefs in Northwestern Province to be amongst the richest. Yeah, because they've got rich mineral resources in Northwestern Province. Chiefs in Copperbelt Rural will be among the richest. Chiefs in Muchinga in Eastern Province. Yeah, we can't continue to keep our chiefdoms the way that we do. There's so much resource that is coming out of there. Frank, when you go to Munyilunga, that's where Kasenseli is. There's a lot of gold that comes from Munyilunga. Have you seen the Solwezi Munyilunga road? That's immoral. That is immoral. We will not have situations like that. First of all, the areas where the resource is coming from will be given priority. We'll find a way of ensuring that you don't apply what is called a butter spread approach. Okay? You go where the resource is. That's where the low-hanging fruit is, and ensure that where we're getting the resource from, we fully develop those areas, develop the infrastructure in that particular area, and also look at the people through their chiefdoms to ensure that they get the benefits. So the chiefs should be comforted that if we go to Northwestern Province, we will ensure that we renegotiate and ensure that our chiefs have got a share.
But generally, there must be an economic activity in all the provinces.
In all the provinces, there will be an economic activity. You see, we are setting up, Frank, what we are calling regional development authorities. These regional development authorities are going to operate with a 10-ministry cluster system. So, yes, it's a 10-ministry cluster system working with the regional development authorities. We'll look at the comparative advantages of areas, then we cluster them together. So, for instance, you find Muchinga, Northern and Wapula will be clustered together because they're strong in agriculture. You find Northwestern and part of the Copper Belt will be clustered together because they're strong in mining. And they will be run by a regional development authority. Now, this regional development authority is going to look at that region holistically. For instance, if there's potential in cotton growing, the regional development authority will ensure that we have enough infrastructure to the areas where we can grow cotton. They'll make sure that there is enough investment in equipment to do with cotton, as it were. So this regional development authority looks at the investment profile of a particular area. So that in terms of budgeting, government is looking at budgets that are going to contribute to the development of particular areas.
The vote protection and the message to the world at large.
Yes, the Zambian people.
And do you trust the ECZ?
And of course, we don't trust ECZ. We will never trust ECZ. We've never trusted ECZ. But like I said, the will of the Zambian people will prevail in this election. So we've spoken to the Zambian people. They are ready to protect the vote. They've undertaken to protect the vote. They are saying, look, we have suffered enough. We can't continue under the current government. Therefore, we will wake up in our numbers to go and cast the vote and ensure that the vote is counted. So the Zambians are ready to protect this vote.
The voice to the nation, the world. I mean, you're not just be president for Zambia. The world, we're not an island. Very quickly, you have to go on the campaign trail.
Yes, that's right, Frank. What we're saying to the world is that Zambia remains an investor-friendly country. This is a country that believes in shared value, where the investor gets a fair share of his return on investment, whilst the Zambians also benefit from that particular investment. We'll continue to respect our laws. We'll restore our constitutionalism and ensure that we respect all agreements that people would have entered into with government before. Government is a going concern. So wherever our friends ended, we'll pick up from there and respect all the undertakings that they made.
Mr. President, before we close, and I know you don't have a passport, but your opponent, the president of this country, says if he's re-elected next year, this time, you can fly from Mansa, directly into London, because there'll be airports in all the international airports in all the provinces.
That's laughable, Frank. Because the president himself can't even move from Mwansabombe to Chiengi. Okay, it's a distance of 100 kilometers. takes 6 hours. If he's unable to do a small project like that, 100 kilometers of road, and then he's dreaming of doing airports of that magnitude. To dream, Frank, is easy. But sometimes even when you're dreaming, you have to dream to the end. Let's say, for instance, by some miracle, he improves the airport at Imansa, and is landing 777s there, for instance. Okay, where is the economic activity, around Imansa that will enable people of Mansa to earn enough money to buy tickets to go to London? Because you see everything completely. The fact that a 777 will land in Mansa and go to London is not the end in itself. You need to plan completely. I mean, what has happened to the Mununshi banana scheme, for instance? What has happened to the Kawambwa tea? Okay, what has happened to the cassava projects there? What has happened to Mansa batteries? So the focus for President Hakainde Hichilema, if he meant well, he should have been looking at revamping the industries that are there, revamping the economy around Imansa. And once he has built capacity and there's disposable income within Imansa, people then can afford tickets to London and they fly out of Imansa. But you just don't, from nowhere, you fail to build the road to Chiengi, you fail to build the road to Mununga, and then you jump on this international airport.
Very quickly, you were misunderstood, I understand, on the statement you made about the civil servants.
No, we're very clear about the civil servants. Look, we understand what civil servants are going through. I respect the civil servants because I've been a minister before. We rely on the civil service. You can't implement government policy without a competent civil service. Our message has been very clear on the civil service. Firstly, we believe that the policy reform alone is not enough without state reform. So we will not only change government, but we change how government works. We will depoliticize the civil service. We'll professionalize the civil service. We will embark on a merit-based recruitment approach to the civil service. We want to motivate the civil servants. We have said to the teachers, there are 50 positions that are waiting upgrades. They've been waiting. We'll upgrade you. We'll implement a debt swap. But we want to say there are people coming from local government commission who are coming to tempt you to get involved in vote buying. And you, the civil servant, the career civil servant, you've been there for 25 years. You have an illustrious career, and you just can't lose it at the very last end by participating in these electoral malpractices because somebody carries a very long surname connected to the powers that be. That person will not be there to save you tomorrow. They will have no power beyond the 13th of August. All we have said is that resist the unlawful instructions. Stay away from unlawful instructions. We want to motivate the civil service, going forward.
As you continue the campaign trail, Mr. President, if you meet Jesus on the trail, what message would you discuss with Jesus?
I'll talk about forgiveness, that Jesus should forgive our brothers that have put many other citizens under turmoil, persecution and oppression. I would ask on their behalf that the Lord Jesus Christ forgives them.
Mr. President, I thank you.
Thank you very much, Frank.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
This has been a special, interview with the man who is being touted as the next president of, this country, Brian Mundubile. Don't forget, 13th of August, 2026. That's the day. Like I keep on saying, do your very best and God will do the rest. Thank you for watching. I've been talking to Brian Mundubile, who is leading, the Tonse Pamosi Alliance in this very, very important, election. I caught up, with, Brian Mundubile during the campaign, trail in Kapirimposhi, and then I followed him in Mukoshi, and hence, this, 1 hour or so discussion, which was really rushed because of the time factor. The schedule was extremely, tight. I am not here to tell the electorate whether Brian or HH are the people, to lead, this country, one of them to lead, this, country, after the 13th of August. But as a journalist, one of my observations in this election is really, the, what can I say, unfair, environment. This election, I think it's obviously scored in favor, of the ruling government, because you can't help it. The president, enjoys, liberties, to travel around in his official capacity as, president. But I wish, some of the benefits the president is enjoying could have been extended, to other, players also, especially the political opposition parties. People like Brian Mundubile, who I talk to. What am I talking about? They've been traversing, the country, using, road transport, and it's very, very difficult and challenging. For me, that is one of my observations, and it's been extremely challenging to the opposition, political parties. But having seen what is going on, I really thank the electorate, from both, sides. And I think the electorate has been enthusiastic to listen, to the political leaders, and it's not late, really, to talk about the issues, the bread and butter, issues. When I talked, to Fridays, on my other, program, Simply Frank, we raised the issue of cost of living. Whoever comes in, I think this is one of the key issue to address. Of course, the economy is extremely important, but my God, although the numbers are important, people have to eat. The basics, access to clean water, access to power. These are the issues, that the Zambians, need. And to crown it all, one Zambia, one nation. As I close, thank you very much, Brian Mundubile, and, your team, good luck. May the best, person, win in this, election, and the best person to win are the Zambian people. On behalf of my production crew from, BMTV, I'm Frank Mutubila. God bless you all.